while Aegon and Visenya focused their efforts north of the Aegon fort. Orys Baratheon marched upon the Kingdom of the Storm, supported in the air by Rhaenys flying atop Meraxes. With Argilac Durrandon still furious over Aegon's rejection of his daughter, no peaceful resolution was possible, and so the Storm King called his banners, gathering together a substantial force, which in turn left his realm vulnerable to attacks from pirates and Dornish raiders. Though the Stormlands won an early victory, killing 1,000 Targaryen men at Wendwater, Rhaenys set the forest on fire as the enemy departed, burning many of their warriors, including one of 3 noble lords who led the mission. Yet the true battle for the realm came during the last storm, when King Argilac, outnumbering the enemy 2-1, charged valiantly into the Targaryen ranks, eventually breaking through their center, only to find Meraxes waiting on the other end to rain dragonfire upon them. Yet even after being thrown from a horse and seeing his men killed, Argilac refused to submit, fighting and dying in a final duel against Orys Baratheon. With her father dead, Argilac's daughter Argilla retreated into Storm's End and declared herself the Storm Queen, but she was soon betrayed by her own men, who delivered her to the Targaryen camp. As the new lord of the Stormlands, Orys decided to embrace the legacy of the Durrandons by marrying Argilla and adopting their sigil as well as their words to form House Baratheon. Having started to encounter serious resistance among the realms of Westeros, Visenya was pleased to accept the peaceful surrender of Crackclaw Point, which immediately submitted to House Targaryen. In appreciation, Visenya promised that they would serve as direct vassals to the king in what came to be known as the Crown Lands. As the invasion continued, the Targaryen army prepared to face their greatest challenge yet, with King Mern Gardner IX of the Reach and Loren Lannister of the Rock allying together to raise an army of 55,000 men. Engaging at what came to be known as the Field of Fire, the Targaryen dragons devastated the enemy, burning over 4,000 men, including the King of the Reach and his sons. With another 1,000 killed in the fighting, the Westerosi army was swiftly defeated, and so King Loren surrendered to House Targaryen. Aegon then decided to leave House Lannister as the lords of the Westerlands, while House Tyrell, formerly a House of Stewards, was given the lordship of the Reach to reward them for peacefully surrendering Highgarden after the Field of Fire. Though the Targaryens wanted to continue conquering the south, they were forced to make their way north when King Torrhen Stark of Winterfell marched 30,000 men into the Riverlands. Despite being outnumbered by the Targaryen host, many Northmen wished to attack, including the king's bastard half-brother Brandon Snow, who volunteered to sneak into the enemy camp and assassinate the dragons. However, King Torrhen had heard the stories about what happened at Harrenhal and the Field of Fire, and so chose to save his people from slaughter by sending Brandon with a party of maesters to negotiate the terms of their surrender. Although he lost his crown, Torrhen was named Lord of Winterfell and Warden of the North, remembered by many as the King Who Knelt. One by one, the realms of Westeros were falling to House Targaryen, but in the kingdom of Mountain and Vale, the regent, Shara Aren, resolved to keep their independence, making bold plans for the defense of her son's throne by marching an army to the Bloody Gate, strengthening their defenses at Gulltown, and tripling the garrison upon the Giant's Lance, who guarded the path towards the Eyrie. Shara also sent a peace proposal, offering to marry Aegon if he would name Ronnell his heir, but the offer was refused, and so she continued to prepare for an invasion. But no soldiers were sent, as Visenya could simply bypass all of their defenses by flying atop Vhagar to land directly within the inner courtyard of the Eyrie. And so it was that Shara Aren found her beloved son Ronnell sitting upon Visenya's lap, eagerly wanting to fly on the dragon. Although the young king did not understand the implicit threat, the reality was made clear to Shara, who saw how vulnerable they really were to dragon lords. And so after Visenya flew the boy around the mountain 3 times, the Vale formally submitted to the Targaryens, with Ronnell Aren named Lord of the Vale and Warden of the East. Looking towards the south, Rhaenys flew atop her dragon Meraxes to the realm of Dorne, only to find their castles and towns abandoned, or else populated with only women and children. When she arrived at Sunspear, it too was abandoned, save for Maria Martell, the elderly princess of Dorne, who remained behind to warn Rhaenys that Dorne would never submit, saying, "You may burn us, my lady, but you will not bend us, break us, or make us bow. This is Dorne. You are not wanted here. Return at your peril." Following this confrontation, Dorne was left in peace for a time, until the rest of the Targaryen campaign was completed. Though most of the Reach supported their king Mern Gardner IX as he prepared to fight the Targaryens, the powerful and influential House Hightower of Oldtown did not join them, as the High Septon of the Faith of the Seven advised them not to fight against the Dragon Lords. When Aegon first landed on the mainland, the High Septon locked himself in the Starry Sept for 7 days and nights, until he had a vision where the crone revealed that their city would burn if they opposed the invaders. And so after the defeat of the Gardener King and submission of Highgarden, the Hightowers rode out to meet the Targaryens and surrendered Oldtown without a fight. As a result, Aegon was formally crowned King of Westeros by the High Septon in 1 AC, and the Hightowers kept their lordship of the city. With most of the mainland conquered, Aegon turned his attention to the Iron Islands, which had been in a state of civil war since the death of King Harren the Black. Putting an end to the violence, Aegon forced them to choose a new leader, resulting in the selection of Vicon Greyjoy as Lord of the Ironborn. And so with 6 of the 7 kingdoms of Westeros under Targaryen rule, the city of King's Landing was established around the Aegon Fort, where they built the Iron Throne, a monstrous chair forged by blacksmiths from the melted swords of defeated enemies. However, by the end of the war, Aegon's conquest was incomplete, as Dorne remained independent. And so in 4 AC, the Targaryens launched the First Dornish War, organizing a full-scale invasion of the territory, but it ultimately ended in failure, with the death of Queen Rhaenys and her dragon, forcing Aegon the Conqueror to recognize Dornish sovereignty. Love audiobooks? Then be sure to check out Audible, where they have the world's largest collection available. Simply sign up through the link in the description box below and get 2 free audiobooks to start out. A special thanks to all those who contribute to CivilizationEx, like The Smiling Cow, John Shadowcat, Fred Heartless, and Anaxis the Grey King. If you'd like to help CivilizationEx, click on the Patreon link, and please be sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and click on the links to see more.